Yes, yes. You know, the first thing I saw, Jackson, is I looked at the Balloon Party YouTube chat. Mundle1 is in there, and he says this is the best hour ever. Now, I do notice that there's an asterisk next to ever. Is that indicative of sarcasm?
I usually isn't sarcasm like \S on Twitter or something.
Well, this is the YouTube chat, so I don't know the codes.
I don't know
So
either.
Mundle1 might be...
Mundle?
Mundle1 might be conveying facetiousness.
Yeah. Facete?
I don't know. I think it's the best hour in the world.
Mundle.
Mundle1.
I kind of like that name.
Participate in the chat, YouTube, 101 ESPN channel, and the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. It's Balloon Party, driven by Munganess St. Louis Acura, Munganess Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, 101 ESPN. My name's Tim McKernan. That's Jackson Burkett. Hey, just announced, big news. Join 101 ESPN for the second annual Blues and Brews on Friday, September 20th. At the Anheuser-Busch Brewery. Get fired up for the blues season at this outdoor street party. It's featuring live music from country music star, Jackson, do you pronounce it Matt Stell or Steele?
Matt Steele.
Okay. And St. Louis's own Charles Glenn Group. Plus appearances by blues players and alumni, food trucks, 101 giveaways, and more. Tickets are just $20 and are on sale now. Learn more at 101ESPN.com. And you're going to be up on stage, kind of giving your take on the Pacific Division.
Yes, and the Norris Division.
The Norris Division, of course, included 5 teams. Who were they?
The St. Louis Blue Note.
Nice.
The Chicago Blackhawks.
Nice.
Minnesota.
That's correct. Now I'm starting to wonder if you might get home.
Winnipeg.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The Avalanche.
At this point, you've already lost, and now we're just naming teams that weren't even around then.
Why would they name the division after a person? That's like, what? Like, what's the deal with that?
I don't know. Stick around and talk it over with Jamie Rivers.
I haven't liked his attitude recently.
What's wrong?
Yeah, I don't know. Just kidding. Jamie's always great.
You know, I got to be honest with you. I saw him when I was leaving yesterday. Mm-hmm. It was around 12 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he's on the air at 2 o'clock with the fast lane.
That's right.
And I said, man, you're here early. And he looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah. He's here at like 11.
And he goes, show prep, baby. I'm a professional. And I felt like that was a little passive-aggressive.
Extremely, for being honest.
So now I'm sideways.
Yeah, as you should be. He won't scrap with you, though. He'll talk a big game.
Part of this.
Scrap. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I always go back there. So let's move some furniture. He won't bite. I'm trying to drop the gloves.
After telling him 20 times, you would think Ledoux boy would know. That's from Dan Jansen. You and Dan Jansen are sideways again.
Know about what? The Norris Division? I got 3, right? And there was 2 more I have to get?
Yeah, and you started naming franchises
Dallas?
that weren't around.
Are they around?
No, the Minnesota North Stars became the Dallas Stars, so it's not possible for both of them to be in the division.
Makes sense. I would have told you it was the Minnesota Wild, so. CBJ around back then?
No, this is just going to get worse and worse.
Golden Seals? Norwalls, whatever that team was.
Norwalls?
What was the team? In Hartford Whalers. It was the Hartford Whalers.
No.
Oh.
I think you might name every team in the NHL outside of the 2 that were actually in the Norris Division with the Blues in the 80s.
80s, okay. Edmonton?
No, I'm sorry.
Is there a Canadian team left out there?
Yes.
Maple Leafs.
Yes! What was the other team?
Canadian?
No.
Rats.
It's interesting that you make them singular, like the Wild.
Red Wings.
Yes!
Yes.
Was that texted in?
No.
Because that like hit you and then you said it with confidence.
Well, I was thinking, I was going up the gut there, right through the flyover states.
The reaction to narwhals. Somebody goes, narwhals? The bar? Yeah, they had a club team they put together.
Well, a narwhal is like a fictional animal. You know, it's like half unicorn, half whale. I didn't know if that was a team, but I was going up the gut there, and I was like, what team am I missing in the central region? And I was like, oh, Detroit.
Yes, the Hartford Narwhals. What a club. It's from the 618.
The fact that there was pro sports in Hartford, Connecticut is pretty interesting.
I wonder what the backstory was on them having a franchise.
It's weird,
Now that I look back on it, and my understanding is because Kelly Chase got traded from here to there, was that they played at a mall.
Like
It was a mall. It's like if you went to Crestwood Plaza and, there's a NHL game going.
Well, the Blues used to practice at the
Mills.
The Mills.
That never really took.
Got it. Okay, but that's practice. They weren't playing their games at the mall.
That's correct.
Yeah, parking seems like it would be a real hassle. Because what if you're just trying to go get some shoelaces or something?
Zach Reichert is in the chat, and he says, first-time chatter here, and I must say Tim looks younger than I thought.
That's nice.
Yeah, I guess that's a good thing.
Mizzou has an offensive lineman named Logan Reichert. Real good player.
I wonder if Zach is his brother.
That'd be cool.
Zach, are you Logan's brother?
He's a real good offensive lineman. But what a nice compliment, though, that you look younger than we expected.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal with that is.
Well, it means you portray yourself as a more mature man with a lot of wisdom, but you have the young look. I mean, isn't that the best of both worlds?
I suppose so. I mean, if you gave me a choice, though, if I'm being fully transparent, of course, this is honesty in media, so that's my contractual obligation. If you gave me a choice between being 6'2" and looking old, or my actual height, which of course is 5'3" with the lifts,
right,
and looking young, I would rather be 6'2" and looking old.
Wow,
100% all day long.
Really?
You don't know the plight of the small man until you sit in these size 8s.
It's true. But you don't know what it feels like to look like you're in junior high at 26.
You feel like you look like you're in junior high? Do you really?
Yeah, big time. When I shave and I go to buy alcohol, it is instantly pull out your ID with some tooth.
Sometimes I wonder, you're not at this point at 26. But my wife got carded when we were somewhere, I don't know, relatively recently. And I was like,
You think that was like a play?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think the barkeep, and it was a female, so it wasn't like some creep situation. Yeah, maybe it was, which would be hot.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But I was like, can I see your ID? I think it's when we were in Denver, actually.
Nice.
And I'm like, I mean...
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but
maybe she just...
I think that's you identified it right away. Think it was a play.
Yeah, it could also be, maybe
like here, now I'm going to give you a 25%, 30% tip because...
Yes.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, or maybe, they've maybe enjoyed too many of the left-handed cigarettes and they just weren't thinking straight. Little jazz cabbage.
Jackson, when you hit 40, you'll be ecstatic about how young you look. That's from the 314.
Hope so. Okay.
I'm 6'2", and I look like absolute dog crap.
See, you don't want that. Height alone, doesn't make the man.
Tim, look at the bright side. You and your kids can share clothes and shoes. That's from Collinsville Kevin. That's true. Yeah, my 6-year-old. But it's true. It has saved me economically.
Right.
I don't have to get...
Like when he grows out of stuff.
I can wear my 6-year-old stuff.
That's rare, but...
Dan Jansen, your guy, says everyone is the same size in bed. So I'm told.
It's true. Height doesn't measure heart.
Oh, wow. Look at you. That's great perspective.
Marcus Stroman.
10:13 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers. Jackson, a Jim Dandy for the Cardinals last night. Sonny Gray, back-to-back starts in which he's carving people up with strikeouts. So that's encouraging. Cardinals beat a left-hander. That's encouraging. This Victor Scott thing... I don't like to show my cards in our fantasy baseball league, essentially since for the first time ever since the thing started in 2010, the Southside Seamen, the New York Yankees of our fantasy baseball league are fighting for a playoff spot. But I'm kind of surprised Victor Scott hasn't been picked up in our league.
Yeah,
because I'm buying stock in Victor Scott. God, what if I just went and picked him up right now?
I guess
just dunked on all y'all.
The concern is playing.
That's my reasoning.
How often is he going to play?
I'm a big. I'm not going to give away my strategies to the people. I'll do it if you put it on my Patreon.
Yeah, I lost.
I guess I don't have to worry about you.
I lost.
What is the deal with your team? Your team might be like the White Sox of the fantasy baseball.
I lost the clubhouse in early May, and I've I'm kind of just playing out the string, hoping I'm going to get picked up. I'm a good baseball man, so I'm hoping to be like a pitching coach in San Fran next year.
Another reason not to pick up the Cardinal outfielder with the home run last night. Victor Scott's first home run. Tommy Pham, 2 hitters later, got one. Is the Cardinals have an off day on Sunday? You don't want to pick somebody up who's off on Sunday.
In what world are we living in where the Cardinals have an off day on Sunday?
What is the reason for that? I understood the 4:15 start against the Mets. The Mets have this. The Mets were in Anaheim, fly to St. Louis, 4 hours. play a ball game. Cardinals were flexed into the Sunday night baseball game. Mets then fly out to Denver, and then they got to go to Seattle. I get it. Players Association probably had something to do with it. But I don't get why the Cardinals and Royals have 2 games and then an off day on Sunday. Jackson's like actively typing, trying to get me this answer.
Yeah, I cannot, trying to figure, first of all, anytime you type in Cardinals and schedule, it comes up with Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, which
And that bothers you.
Come on, I'm talking about the St. Louis baseball Cardinals here. Talking about 11 world championships, baby.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I can't explain it. When baseball season starts, like the one thing you know is every Sunday there will be baseball on. Cardinal baseball will be on Sunday, no matter what. Saturday and Sunday, there's all these games.
I mean, what do you got this Sunday if you're in St. Louis? Am I missing something?
Preseason football start?
Yeah, but I mean, that doesn't do you any good. All due respect.
Doesn't do me any good, yeah.
The golf tournament this week's a ham and egg field. I think I turned down being in that field. So I don't know what you got.
Yeah,
it's so weird. So the Cardinals and Royals are playing 2 games, but they're off on Sunday.
I guess it might be an interleague thing where they could only play 2 more games. But wouldn't you do Saturday, Sunday? I don't know.
Deep Voice Dude says NFL's more popular than Major League Baseball, though people in St. Louis hate to admit it. I don't think you're going to find too many people who would not admit that.
Yeah, you'd be just denying objective truth at that point.
I mean, I think we all would acknowledge that. Now, that doesn't mean that an individual may like the NFL more than they like the Cardinals or Major League Baseball.
Sure.
But as far as general popularity, like for as much crap as you take about your love of the National Basketball Association, I would imagine that those engaging in a good faith argument would concede that the NBA is more popular than the NHL.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you think that would go on?
I mean,
that doesn't mean that they like the NBA more than the NHL.
Of course.
I'm certainly more invested in the NHL than I am the NBA, but I recognize that the NBA is more popular than the NHL.
Yeah, the key word you're saying there was good faith. If you're having good faith, then yes, absolutely. If someone's doing the whole thing, then yeah, they'd be denying objective facts. But you know what? Listen, it's your prerogative, bro.
My prerogative, Bobby Brown, 1989, 88, 89. The game is in Kansas City. Is there a Chiefs game on Sunday?
But even then, why would that make a difference? My prerogative, Tim, 1988.
88.
Yeah, 88.
I remember being at Six Flags in line on the mine train.
No longer with us,
people,
right?
100% with us. I was there with the whole family 2 weeks ago. Might be there again. I hope that doesn't come off as a brag.
Only if you go to Hurricane Harbor.
Yeah, you're right. Tim, I need your help with the bottom shelf over my 6'1" beer gut. That's from the 618. So he's tall, but he's got a beer gut and he can't see the bottom shelf, and that's where I come into play.
Yeah, that's nice little more income streams.
Oh, that's nice. All right, another revenue stream. All right, we'll take a break. Jackson and I will talk about the Cardinals and the Rays and the Little Piddles Wide Berth Wednesday. Yeah. All right, can't wait to see what we got. It's coming up. This is Balloon Party, 101 ESPN. Welcome back to Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you on the program. And Jackson has prepared a series of questions on a Wednesday, August 7th, 2024, that he is titling a Wide Berth Wednesday, fresh off a Cardinal victory last night in St. Louis. Victor Scott with his new swing, lifting up that leg for rhythmic purposes, and it works just fine. How do you do? He was raking in Memphis. The Cardinals said that's going to translate to St. Louis after he worked with former Cardinal Ryan Ludwig, and that's led to success. Then 2 hitters later, Tommy Pham goes yard. The Cardinals get the win. They beat a left-hander and stop the bleeding.
Yeah. I got a question kind of on that topic, certainly on young players.
Okay.
Jeff Gordon of STL Today wrote a pretty interesting article this morning saying, while baseball is about numbers and probability, it's also very much a human adventure. He cited the juxtaposition of Carlson and Burleson and also Wynn and Walker. You know, you have guys who have performed really well at a very young age and then guys who have fallen off.
Jordan Walker's gotten hot here.
He has gotten hot. September call-up, I would say, if you're hoping to see him up in the big leagues again, would be I'd circle that date, unless injuries come about. But that's what I would assume. I think most Cards fans can agree that the talent
Another
development...
2 hits last night for Walker.
Yeah, and one at 113 miles an hour, by the way. I think most Cards fans can agree that the talent development for the Cardinals has been a problem over the last 5 to 10 years, not only on the home front, but young players leaving only to find success at their new home. However, do you feel that the worm is slowly beginning to turn on that front if Jordan Walker can pan out and we see a few of the young pitching talents find their footing? Do you think we can start to see a change of perspective on young player development?
Well, sure, if the young players develop. I mean, what are we doing out here today?
Well, I'm saying that the worm is kind of turning. What used to be, look at all these young guys who have gone out and had success. Now the team, you could even say, is kind of anchored by young players finding success here in St. Louis.
I would be able to engage in that conversation with more our words for the day, good faith. The problem for me in having that conversation is the guy who was the number 1 prospect in baseball 18 months ago has been removed from the Major League roster twice and has been down in Memphis for 4 months. Now, as just noted, he has gotten hot. It's a small sample size. It's 5 games in the month of August. But his OPS is, Jackson, do you say 1,095 or 1.095? Doug said, I'm going to go with 1.095.
Brandon Kiley is a big stat guy, and he said, don't use the point.
I kind of like going 1,095.
He said that's the way to go. And I trust BK.
It's like GIF or GIF. What do? Do you do GIF or GIF? I'm GIF all day.
If someone says GIF, I have some thoughts.
Do you feel like it's boomer season?
Yeah, or like someone's grandchild told them it's GIF, or pronounced either way. So
the grandchild wanted to mess with the grandparent?
Something like that.
Wow, that's not good faith on the part of the grandchild.
No,
this grandchild pisses me off.
Yeah, the theoretical grandchild.
Going back to your question, it would all work for me if Jordan Walker were up and raking, but he's not.
Right.
Now he's starting to rake a little at Memphis, small sample size. The Mason Wynn thing, super encouraging. Mason Wynn could wind up being the face of the franchise.
Is that play to end the game last night?
I don't know what happens there. I mean, it's all super results oriented, of course. I don't know. I think it was a bad thing that it hit Helsley.
Probably.
I mean, it ended up and out either way. I think that's a cleanly fielded ball to end the game.
Probably to the second baseman, not to Mason Wynn.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. I don't know. But since it hit Helsley, but yeah, it was a hell of a play. And if it doesn't happen,
that's back-to-back, basically.
And it was a 3-2. I don't know if you've got a mad dash from second base by the Rays. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
Who was on second for the Rays. But either way, runners are going.
Yeah.
That thing was, well, I'll tell you, if Helsley blows that game after the debacle in Chicago last Thursday, and then the Cardinals would have lost 5 of 6, wow.
It would be a lot different conversation today.
Would have, yeah, in a major way. But going back to Wynn, that's super encouraging. I realize I'm seizing on 5 games in Memphis here to start the month of August with Jordan Walker. That's what I'm hopeful for. And if that's the case, then you pair it with some of the other younger players along with Wynn. Yeah, Wynn and Walker, then absolutely. Then the other part of the conversation is, we'll look at the rotation.
Yeah, that's the most glaring.
So you've got Sonny Gray, wonderful, 15 strikeouts in his last 2 outings. But his ERA was well over 5. Yep. So there's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing going on there. You really don't know what you're going to get. He's a fantasy baseball curse because he can kill it for you, but then you're like, God, you can also go out there and crush my ERA and my whip.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday the home run ball he gave up is that's just a meatball, 80-mile-per-hour curveball, dead center. I mean, guys are going to rip that.
That's his weakness.
Yeah.
But here's your rotation.
Yeah.
Gray, Lynn, Gibson, Michaelis, and I guess Palante right now is, I mean, I know Lynn's on the IL.
Yeah.
And
Fetty.
But how many of these guys are homegrown / young pitchers?
Right. Palante being the only, and he's kind of a tweener between bullpen and starter. So, yeah, that's a huge issue.
The Quinn Matthews development is something to really keep an eye on. That is truly trending.
11 Ks, 6 no runs last night.
So he's moving. Obviously, McGreevy start. I don't think anybody could have honestly said they expect that. Maybe some people did. I don't know. That's encouraging. But as you look at it, I don't think you can look at the Major League roster, whether it be offensively or from the pitching standpoint, and go, okay, this is a Cardinal organization that is building through their own system. And yes, I realize there are examples of it, but I don't think there is enough where I go, okay, it's starting to happen now.
Yes.
Perhaps it is, but I think one of the core reasons that doesn't get much conversation, because I think the red meat, so to speak, when people complain about the Cardinals, and whether you want to complain beginning in 2016 or you want to complain beginning in 2020, whatever it might be, is, well, they're not spending money. That's red meat. You know, all they care about is the real estate down there, whatever it is. I personally disagree with that premise, but I also know that's an unpopular line to take. I think it's player development at its core, and the thing that is tilting is not only the lack of development while they're here, but then to see them go elsewhere and thrive. And it's not across the board, but man, that's been the problem. So yeah, Mason Wynn, Burleson, I don't go, okay, well, it's all fixed.
Right.
And I'm not saying you're saying that either. That wouldn't be fair to say what your question was. But hopefully that turns, because, you know, I know Miles Michael has called the Dodgers checkbook baseball or whatever the hell he called it. But the reality is, one of the reasons why the Dodgers have been able to do what they've done, albeit it's only led to one World Championship, and it was probably the worst year to win the World Series that you could possibly have it in 2020. But they have been on a run in the postseason going back to, I believe, 2013, if I'm not mistaken, when the Cardinals beat them in the NLCS, is that they have churned out a bunch of prospects that they have been able to use to acquire players who oftentimes they're able to sign to long-term deals. So it's been a combination of the checkbook and quality scouting. And then they go through a bunch of injuries in their staff, and they're bringing in new guys from their farm system to spot start. And sometimes they click and they stick, and sometimes they don't. But then they go out and they bring in a Jack Flaherty at the trade deadline because they can. That's where the Cardinals have been missing out here, from my standpoint, in the last 8-ish years.
Yeah, like even if, like, I'm taking Walker out of the equation, I can't say that the word has turned on player development until a young pitcher comes up and is at least like a 3 or 4 starter. Like, it has to be like a full-on pre-arbitration starter, like someone you can actually use. You're not paying a bunch of money, who's homegrown. That's when I'll say that the worm has started to turn. Because even if Walker pans out to be great, like, if you can't get young pitching, you are always going to be hamstrung by that, paying way too much money for pitchers who are probably too old to be in the position they're in, and it's always going to bite you in the ass. It always will.
You've never said truer words. I don't know about always going to bite you in the ass, but but up until that point, yeah, that's the situation, because pitching, by the time they're free agents, you're overpaying, and then there's a good chance that you're going to be paying for some years that don't remotely justify the expense.
Right.
And so that's the spot the Cardinals have been in for a while now. And then, of course, then that hamstrings your ability to go out and acquire a position player. I mean, the Cardinals have a lot to tend to this coming off season. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know where they begin. I was talking with Randy Carricker on the way in here half hour ago, and he said both he and Dan McLaughlin are of the opinion that the Cardinals will have Goldschmidt back next year. And I can see it. Let me before it's not like I'm going, they should. what I would say is I could see it from the standpoint that I could see Goldschmidt being like, yeah, I'm going to become a free agent, do the Wainwright move.
Yeah.
But it's understood that I'm not testing free agency. Mm-hmm. I have some kids now at this point and Randy said he sold his house in Jupiter. He bought Louis Oosthuizen's house in Jupiter. And when Louis Oosthuizen moved up a little north in Florida, and I didn't know that, but he's got a house here. He's got kids. He doesn't strike me as a guy who's like, let me go flop around in Miami or, some other butt-ass place that isn't going to compete just so I can make the most money. Mm-hmm. I think he probably prefers the more laid-back, slower pace here than like going to take your pick of whatever market, if it would be in the Northeast, Philadelphia, Boston, New York, either New York team, and having that pressure that comes with it,
for sure,
especially at this point in his career, and doesn't want to pick his family up. So from that standpoint, I'm not saying it makes sense, nor should he be the first baseman starter in ink. But from that standpoint, if he's just going, okay, it's discount season, that's my priority, money is not, then I could see it.
Yeah.
If there's some kind of 3-year extension or something like that, I might become a takesmith.
Yeah, I think you'd have to be. Because like anything past a 1-year extension would be like, just for one more year would be crazy to me. Because what has he shown you that's going to tell you he's even going to be good next year, let alone approaching 40? Like, I couldn't understand that.
Your thoughts on the topic, 314-399-9646. And then, of course, the YouTube chat. That is where you can get involved in the conversation with plenty of 101 ESPN listeners, 101 ESPN YouTube channel. Cameras on our studio brought to you by the Air Alliance team. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you. This is Balloon Party on 101 ESPN. Munganess St. Louis Acura, Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota, a place that I have gotten to know quite well over the last 5 or 6 years, and people I've gotten to know quite well also. And at this point, it's one of those things in life, usually one of the bigger expenses you will have as far as a car. And once you know that you are working with wonderful people who are going to take care of any issue that you may run into with your vehicle, you go, okay, well, that used to be a concern, and now it's not a part of my life because I'm working with the best. And the best is Munganess St. Louis Acura and Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota. I guess it was about 3 weeks ago. My mother-in-law was about to get a car, and she was looking at a different place. And I said, hey, listen, it's not going to impact my life one way or the other. But I have an obligation to let you know that if you do business with the people at Munganess St. Louis Acura, Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota, you are going to be thrilled with the decision. She's over at the house last week. I see the new car, and I say, how are you? She goes, I love it, and you were right. They are the best to deal with. And I go, there you go. That's just another example of another satisfied customer from Munganess. St. Louis Acura and Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota online at stlouisacura.com and altontoyota.com.
This is Action Jackson with a Sports Center update, and it's driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals win yesterday, defeating the Tampa Bay Rays by a final score of 4-3. The Cardinals will take on the Rays again tonight. 6:45 p.m. is your first pitch. Eric Fetty on the mound for the Redbirds. And yesterday, Team USA defeats Brazil in basketball 122-87. Devin Booker leading the charge with point scoring at 18 points yesterday. That was another Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Welcome back to Balloon Party, 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you for another 22 minutes of sports talk radio glory is what Jackson's calling it.
It is pretty glorious.
I agree with you. What's your next question on this Wide Berth Wednesday? A lot of Cardinal discussion here in the previous segment. Where are you going to pivot?
We'll talk about Luther Burden. ESPN just ranked him as the #1 transcendent star heading into the 2024 football season. So they did a 25 most impactful players this year.
And I saw he was ranked 23rd.
But they did it like in classes, like transcendent star.
Well, then what if you're the #1 overall player? Wouldn't you be the most transcendent?
No, but it was.
Who was the #1 overall player?
But that's not how they were doing it. It wasn't. It was like each by 5 were doing different classes, and one of them was like, so the 16th ranked guy was like a star who needs a breakout season, but they were not saying that. Like, it was a very confusing article. But in the transcendent star category,
pure transcendence potential: Travis Hunter of Colorado, Mason Graham, defensive tackle with Michigan, James Pierce Jr., DN with the Volunteers. And then Missouri's Luther Burden was ranked 22nd, but I guess that means the lowest, highest, depending on your perspective, ranking of transcendent.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was going off of, because the bottom was like 4 guys. It was like quarterbacks on a new team who need to lead. Like Will Howard was ranked #1, but that was just based on the class. It was a very confusing way of doing it, to be honest with you. But that's how I took it. He was the #1.
I'm prepared for your question.
Oh, God. Did you see how loud that door just opened?
Ah! It's Jamie Rivers! That's Jamie Rivers music!
I thought we actually had an intruder.
Perfect timing, because Jackson's citing an article in a poll that he doesn't understand.
What poll are you trying to figure out?
Yeah.
One more time?
What poll?
That was a very direct question, and the man didn't stutter.
I just wanted to hear him say it again.
But you did.
Something about Luther Burden being the #1 transcendent star heading into the 2024 football season.
Sounds riveting.
Sounds riversing.
You like a good pun, Jamie?
Yes, I do.
Is it hot in here, Jamie, or what?
Well, now it is. Jamie's in here.
It's too hot in here. How do you guys do your show in this sauna?
This is what we walk into, and I don't want to mess with the thermostat over. Do you guys make it cold on the fast lane?
Oh, yeah.
Turn the lights off.
Lights off, cold.
They got the disco ball going.
Usually the morning show comes in and they're frozen. That's fine.
I was telling Jackson a little anecdote of seeing you yesterday in the parking garage. You were here 2 hours plus early, and I said, "Oh, you're a little early." And you said, "Yeah, show prep. I'm a pro." And I felt like it was passive aggressive. Like, I show up here at 7:07 to do TMA. That's what I thought.
Tim,
and then Jackson said, "You keep offering to move furniture, and you're turning them down."
I offer, yes.
Yeah, Tim, I'll tell you something.
Go ahead.
There's not a whole lot of passive aggressive in my life. I'll put it that way.
You're more direct and to the point.
Yeah, straight to the point, to a fault. Some would say.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, some would, probably disagree with that, especially if I'm talking to them and I'm not happy and I'm voicing my displeasure.
Sure.
However, I do try to keep it professional, at least most of the time.
Of course. Yeah. What about the professionalism in here right now? What do you think about this? We just had a wonderful discussion about the teams in the Norris division in the 1980s.
Oh, yes. The old Chuck Norris division.
Yeah, and Jackson guessed the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Montreal Canadiens. I guess they were singular then. And the Hartford Norwalls is what he called them.
The Norwalls. I could see that, though. I could see that. Yeah. 2 of those teams were in the Adams division.
The Adams. Jackson's mad the teams were named after people.
What sense does that make, where you would name it after people and not directions?
You're honoring their legacy, Jackson.
Okay.
Well, you don't like people who've done something positive for the game to be honored?
Is there not better ways to honor them?
How? Give me one.
Well, how come
naming trophies and divisions are great ways to honor people?
You love the Larry O'Brien trophy.
Yeah.
I understand naming trophies after people. Like that makes a little more
Because
sense.
it's the
That's
NBA.
where your
Because there's
separator
like
is?
it's like a special thing. The division names, it just makes it for confusing for casual fans like me. And there's clearly a reason they don't do it anymore. So I don't know. Do you want me? And no other sport
Those
does
other
it.
guys lost the naming rights. They wouldn't keep paying anymore.
Yeah, like Pitbull.
Yeah, they were sponsors.
Jack Adams. And I'm out.
Jack Adams was the sponsor. Jackson, the history of the Hartford Whalers. They played at a mall, didn't they?
They did. They played at a mall, and it was a very interesting spot. They had great fans. I'm not going to lie. They had people that showed up on a nightly basis. The mall was a little weird. I'm not
So it
gonna,
really was at a mall in Connecticut.
You'd walk in the mall, take an escalator to go like to locker rooms or go up to the ticket spot or whatever you're doing. And they had a catchy little tune. I wish I could remember how it went, but a catchy little tune from the Whalers came out on the ice. It was not intimidating at all. So I always thought that was kind of weird. It's like this crazy like carnival song. Like,
Here
I'm
come
like,
the Whalers.
I'm not really scared right now.
Here come the Whalers.
Yeah.
They are not the Narwhals, Jackson. They were the Whalers, and they've since become the Carolina Hurricanes.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Okay. I'm
A lot of water involved in all of those names.
Yeah, they think about that.
Yeah.
All right. What do you, Jackson? I can tell Jackson's frantically looking something up to try to disprove something. This is disproving typing going on over
Is he the guy that he wants to spite you? He's going to find it.
I feel like he'd like to dunk on us right now if he gets the opportunity.
I
what do you
think
got? Oh, you found
the brass
song.
bonanza.
Oh, I want to hear this.
Here it is.
Oh, I got to tell you, it is a nice little tune.
Yeah, not really intimidating, right?
So this would happen when the Whalers would skate onto the ice as they play at their
As they
mall?
come on the ice for like the first period, like come running out of the gates, and this is what they got to come out to.
It sounds like something Paul Newman would run out to in Slapshot for the Chiefs.
Here come the whale.
Yeah, and then you'd be like, oh, okay.
Great
So we're
logo,
doing
though.
I
it.
feel pretty good about our chances here
Great
against the
logo.
whale.
It is a very underrated logo.
How did they come into the league? Were they moving from somewhere?
That's a really good question, Tim.
It sounds like, I might have stumped you on this
Yeah,
one.
I
had no idea, for example, about the Kansas City Scouts until my son was playing for a team last year, and they were all defunct NHL teams, and he was playing for the Scouts, and I didn't realize the Scouts had become the New Jersey Devils, but they had a pit stop as the Colorado Rockies.
Yes.
The Hartford Whalers, I didn't know if that was like an expansion thing. It'd
It was
be weird
a
if they were
merger.
expansion. Oh, it was a merger thing?
The NHL and WHA
Yeah.
merged.
So the Oilers, the Whalers, there's a number of teams that came in from the WHA days.
Got it. And was that all in the 70s, I guess?
79.
79?
I was going to say right at the beginning of the 80s.
There you go. All right.
So that's how Gretzky ended up with the Oilers.
What a
in the
huge
NHL.
situation that was.
Yeah, because the WHA Oilers had traded for Gretzky. He had started with the Indianapolis Pacers, I believe.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that's what they were called.
Really?
Here
Yeah.
we go. You just activated NBA.
I know. His ears perked up. It was like a dog when you crinkle a bag of chips. I
All
mean,
of a sudden, Jackson had withdrawn from the conversation. You say Pacers, and he's in.
he had a great reaction time, though.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out what the other teams were who merged.
So this was kind of like the ABA and the NBA
Yes.
with the WHA. The Oil, the Whalers.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what other
Ooh, I
teams.
got the answers.
What do you got?
One team still plays. One team is no longer with us. Both Canadian teams.
I would guess the Flames? No, the
sir.
Flames were from Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, the
Canuck?
Winnipeg Jets.
Winnipeg Jets is one of them.
Yeah. Yep.
Jets.
And then the other one, no longer
No longer.
Defunct.
Yeah,
defunct. The
Wow.
Quebec Nordique.
that is correct.
Oh, but they're the Avalanche.
They are.
Is that right?
Yeah. That franchise moved from Quebec to Colorado. And in their first year in Colorado,
Hoisted a chalice.
they hoisted the cup.
Yep.
That doesn't seem right. It seems like a VGK situation.
No, it's more of a thank you, Eric Lindros situation.
Yeah.
Eric
You know
Lindros
Eric
was
Lindros, of course.
Great skater.
he was a really good skater.
I
Big
know.
son of a gun, too.
Yeah, huge.
He was,
You know what he's doing? He's humoring you right now.
Oh, what do you mean?
enjoying him.
Lindros, that's my guy.
I'm trying to educate Piddles here on some.
Did you spell
some
it
stuff.
like Eric Fetty with a K at the end?
No,
Okay. I like him more.
no. He was the number one overall pick and didn't want to play for Quebec and said he wouldn't play.
Yeah.
So they drafted him anyways because Mario Lemieux had tried the same thing with Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh drafted him anyways. And then Lemieux went on to have an amazing career in Pittsburgh and now owns the team.
I didn't know that about Lemieux.
Yeah, Lemieux didn't even go down to put the jersey on. When you get drafted first overall,
Sure.
you go down, put the jersey on.
Absolutely.
He stood up, waved, and that was it. Didn't go down because
Where did he want to play?
I think he wanted to go to Montreal. I mean, French guy.
Yeah,
That
sure,
was kind of
that
his
makes
dream.
sense.
But you don't really get to pick
Yeah,
in those
that's not the way it
situations. So
works.
Eric Lindros, he repeated the behavior. So much so that the Quebec Nordique, though, they took Eric Lindros and flipped him. Flipped him with, where the hell did they send him?
It was Philadelphia. It wasn't Philadelphia.
And they got Forsberg. They got Chris Simon. They got,
is that right? So it became like the foundation of that franchise.
So they got 4 or 5 pillar players from Philadelphia for Eric Lindros.
Kind of like the Cowboys and the Herschel Walker deal.
Yeah, and then the Avalanche, now Quebec Nordique turning to the Avalanche, they were all assembled together, and they went to Colorado and won the Cup right away. Thank you.
That was 96 against Van Beesbrook and the Panthers, if memory serves.
Huey Krupp with the overtime winner for the 4-game sweep.
Hey, this is kind of random, but I was scrolling through TikTok, and I saw an interview with Ray Bourque in the that 2001 series with the Blues and Avalanche. I was there when Sakic sent that thing, sent the Avalanche and ended the Blues run, and he sent them to the Cup Finals. And Bourque says that's one of the greatest playoff series he ever played in. And I'm like, it's great to hear, because I think 3 of the 5 games or 4 of the 5 games went to overtime.
Yeah.
But a 5-game series usually isn't considered that way. But here's Bourque doing an interview like 22 years later, and he's like, that was one of the hardest hitting, best series I had participated in. I don't know if that's something that, as you observe from afar, what your thoughts were on great playoff series. Because there were some hockey guys like, oh, that series was so good. And I'm like, a 5-game series, the Blues lost 4-1. It was tight, but it didn't strike me as an incredible series.
There were a lot of wars back then.
Well, the wars were the Red Wings and the Avalanche,
yeah,
oftentimes.
the Red Wings, the Avalanche, but even like Blues, Red Wings, mid-90s, late 90s, Blues, Dallas Stars, those were like some, remember there were some serious battles, man. Yeah. Like you're going out there and you're like, well, I'm in one tonight. Like this is going to be a long night. You got to be mentally prepared to just accept the pain. Yeah. But at the same time, you're hurting. And you're trying to hit somebody on the other team, like it's going to hurt you just as much. That's what people don't understand. Is I say that these hits are all like little small car crashes all over the ice, and when you get hit, it's one thing. But when you hit somebody else, you get credit for that hit, great. But you're actually throwing your own body into harm's way because that player's moving at a serious pace, or the boards or whatever. Like there's never a time when you hit somebody and you don't take damage. There's something that always happens.
There's some damage.
So when you go the course of a playoff series, when you're finishing every single hit, like that's why like the Florida Panthers this last year with their win, look at the series, the way they went. The longer the series went, much like the Blues in 2019,
man, they killed it in games 5, 6, and 7.
The Panthers did the same thing. Paul Maurice and Bill Zito took a page right out of the Blues handbook and said, let's get a bunch of bruisers who just cycle the puck. We can throw a couple of high-end talent guys on this team. Great goaltending. Let's see what we can do. And 2 years in a row, they've gotten to the final and won it this year.
That's amazing. That's amazing to think about. Because I was wondering if that was kind of a blueprint there. Because, I mean, by the time the Sharks got here for Game 6, like I felt like a third of the roster didn't even come to St. Louis.
Oh, they didn't even want to show up. They're like, we're done. Just take the victory. We're good. Just stop hitting us, please.
That was the best.
It was awesome.
That was the best.
But Florida, the way they're built, they can make a run at it again next year.
Do we have a dynasty situation developing? Yeah.
It's weird when you have, like, some of your best leaders and your grittiest players are also your most talented players. You got Kachuk, Barkov, Bennett. Like, those are guys, Reinhart. These are guys that'll get to the front of the net, they'll fight, they'll hit, and they're top scorers on your team. Yeah. And they drag that whole team into battle.
Is that catching on in a big way down there? Or is it still kind of, if they're hot, they're paying attention? Because I know the Lightning have taken over part with what's going on in Tampa.
Tampa's awesome. What they've done there, when Steve Yzerman went down there and started building that team with the new ownership, they haven't looked back. They sell out almost every game. And the Panthers are doing a great job now to obviously getting us a high-profile kid like Matthew Tkachuk, now going to a cup and winning a cup. There's a lot more interest that has been sparked down in South Florida. And it really is awesome, man. You go down there, and we had a good fortune going down there just before the end of the season. And you're driving the golf carts around.
They drive the golf carts around. It's the best.
It's awesome. Like, I drive one in my neighborhood, but it's not like you're not driving down A1A with the beach on your right-hand side, and you're like going to park your golf cart in the sand while you go take a dip. It's a pretty nice feeling, I'm not going to lie.
It's a nice setup. That Matthew Tkachuk's living the life right now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got
to figure it out.
Oh, gosh, he's living such a great life. Going to all the big golf tournaments, getting commercials.
Yeah, he got to play in that thing at Tahoe, didn't he?
It's pretty awesome.
God bless him. That's Jamie Rivers. See, he's a delight. You don't need to move furniture with Jamie
I know.
Rivers?
And I hate to do this now, and I don't mean to dunk on you. I don't know what the hockey equivalent would be to dunking.
Whatever you're about to do, I would advise against it. That's all I'm telling you.
Dumping and chasing
This
on
has
you.
been a nice visit, Jackson.
I
I'd
know.
hate to have 2 seconds of stupidity ruin it.
This is honesty in media, and if we're just going to be honest, the team was the Indianapolis Racers,
Oh, the Racers.
not the Pacers.
Oh, okay. You're right. They had a little street.
He had to get a W.
They had a little road on their logo.
Was that like the Indiana
Yeah, 500.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well played.
Look at the little smirk, like a little son who beat his dad. And
No, it's
tiddlywinks.
great. I mean, I can't wait to watch Petro play for the Oil next year.
He's a great player, right? Isn't it great to see him play where
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky played?
That's some confidence.
both in St. Louis
I can
and
picture
in
them
Edmonton.
together on
Yes.
ice right now.
Right, they could.
Up in Alberta. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Jamie, thanks for dropping by the Nonsense Hour.
No problem, man.
There
I
it is.
appreciate it. You
Great
guys
Jamie
every day,
Rivers.
and thought I'd jump on.
In doing show prep,
Yep.
Stalter's vacationing in the Hamptons, right? Or was that last week?
Martha's Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard.
Jackson also has a place there.
Yeah.
So then you got heavy lifting. I mean, you got
Yeah.
to carry a little more weight, a little more time on the
I
ice.
got DJ Dirty Elbows, Andrew Marsh, who
Did you see his mustache?
he comes flying
Jackson
in about
loves
1.
his mustache.
What do you think? Handlebar?
Oh, the Wyatt Earp?
Yeah.
A big fan. On him.
On
him.
I was about to
Yeah.
say.
What if you think I could pull that off?
Well, you'd have a lot of growing to do. Are you starting now and targeting 20 years from now?
I'm targeting November.
November?
There's a
Yeah.
little peach fuzz up there. You see that?
I'm so
It
confident.
looks like a little tennis ball. Little fuzzy tennis ball.
Play some fuzzball. It's
Golden
like you're-
Griffins. I'm so excited for the Blues season. I'm starting to grow my playoff beard out now. So by the time April rolls around, I'll be
You'll be
good.
peaking.
Be like at a week, 2 weeks growth.
Yeah, it'll be great.
It'd be awesome.
It will
I can't
be
wait
great.
to see it.
Yeah,
it'll look
be like a
great.
highway patrol stash.
We'll go a couple of braids in there for you.
Yeah, like a Padawan.
That'll look sharp.
It will.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the great Jamie Rivers of the Fast Lane, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. here on 101 ESPN. We'll take a break, come back with the final segment of Bloom Party, 101 ESPN. Welcome back. Balloon Party 101 ESPN. It's presented to you by Munganess. St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. What a treat.
Yeah, hockey history with Jamie.
I like that.
Big fan. I just like Jamie
Rivers
Rivers.
just dropping by.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man.
So
Really
you don't
good.
want to move furniture with him?
Ultimately, no. I've said before, I've never been in a physical altercation in my life, and so I feel like
That's not the place to start?
a guy with a lot of penalty minutes for the old scrapping wouldn't be the guy to start with.
Okay.
You know, maybe I start with like a fencer, if we're picking like sports,
Sure,
pro
fencing. Yeah, no,
athletes.
fencing, I think, is everybody defaults
Fencing
to.
or curling, another Canadian pastime.
And you got a chance to talk about Marsha's mustache, and if there's anything that gets you going.
Just world class. I mean, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I wish I could grow facial, and I wish the color of my facial hair wasn't what it is. It is,
Well, you look odd with blonde hair and then a dark.
but like darker is what I'm saying. Like it is white up top. Like I look like little Gandalf.
Little Gandalf.
Yeah, I look like little Gandalf.
Jackson, do you have a little kicker, squirrel on the water skis question?
That's a good question in it of itself, Tim, is if I have a good question. And, sometimes
This is Jackson delay tactic right now if anybody can't pick up the read.
that's twice now. I have gotten the password on my computer incorrect.
Yeah, that was a tight read. Yeah, I knew he was on. I knew he was on a flush draw. I thought it was Queen Jack of Spades because there was an 8-9 out there, so he would get paid off with the 4 outs with the 10 if it were to hit on the river. But when the river came off with the 2 of hearts, I knew I was good and I was going to value bet it. And if he came over the top, I was calling. It didn't matter.
I don't.
Perfect. Unbelievable. Just an absolute tragedy. Absolute tragedy. Come on. Piddles has been sucker punched in the face at least once while he was in high school. That's from Nick Housen.
I caught like a stray elbow in a basketball game. You know,
From Jason Tatum.
No, that would go over my head. The elbow, catch it, someone's getting the rebound, arms out as they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
You grab the basketball when you rebound, like you're trying to open a jar of pickles right under your chin.
Nice.
That's your strongest
Little
point.
rebound technique tip.
But then when you turn out, you can catch a bow in the face. And that's what happened to me.
Drop bows on him. Drop bows on him. We drop bows on him. All right, well, we got to go. BK and Ferrari up next. Jackson did not have a question, but he did give us a rebounding tip. Jamie Rivers dropped by the program, though, and that was a treat. Time for us to go. BK and Ferrari are up next for Jackson Bennett Burkett and Jamie Rivers guest spot. I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN.